listen to me while I sing for you this melody. Do a song, I say what I have to say. Sometimes it's the only thing that helps me through the day. So many things on my mind. I gotta have a song that helps me unwind. If it wasn't for music, I don't know what I'd do. I say hard time, help me through. I gotta have a song. Well, yeah, bring me along. Yeah. Well, I gotta have a song. Well, help me carry on. Come on, put your hands together this morning. Come on, let's praise the Lord right now. He's worthy to be praised. He's worthy to be lifted up. You ought to want to thank him. I say thank you.
Thank you, Jesus,
For all you
for
know.
all you've done for me.
I say thank you.
Thank you, Jesus,
Say you've been so
been so good to me.
Come on and say thank you.
Thank you,
Oh, yeah. I say for all you
for
know.
all you've done for me.
I want to tell him thank you.
Thank you, Jesus,
Say you've been so
been
good.
so good to
Oh,
me.
my soul is back.
And wonder
Ah,
how you brought me over.
I just want to say, oh, Lord.
Thank you,
Come on, y'all. Well, I say thank you
thank you, Jesus,
for all you
for
know.
all you've done for
You
me.
want to tell it thank you.
Thank you, Jesus.
You've been so good.
so good to me.
Oh, thank you, Lord. Yeah.
Thank you, Jesus.
Hey, for all you know.
All you've done for me.
I say thank you.
Thank you, Jesus.
Well, you've been so good.
So good to
Hey,
me.
my soul is back.
Wonder how you brought me over.
Oh, I just want to say, oh, Lord.
Thank you.
When I was lost, you found me. When I was sinking, you rescued me. When I was out, you brought me in. You've been there with me through thick and thin. That's why
I give you praise.
Because
You keep on making a way. I just wanna say
oh, thank you.
you.
When I was sick, you healed me. When I was hurt, you comforted me. When I didn't know what to do, Lord, I trusted you. You pulled me through. That's why.
I give you praise. You keep on making a way.
Oh, Lord.
I just wanna say
Oh, Lord.
thank you.
Yeah, so thank you
Thank you, Jesus.
for all you do.
all you've done for me.
I want to tell it, thank you. Come on.
Thank you, Jesus.
Say you've been so
Been so
good.
good to me.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Jesus.
Say for all you do.
All you've done
I
for
gotta
me.
tell the Lord, thank you.
Thank you, Jesus.
Say you've been so good.
So good to me.
My soul.
Looks back and wonder.
Anybody here know?
My
My
soul looks back and wonder.
I gotta look back at where you brought me from.
My soul looks back and wonder how you brought me over. I just wanna say thank you.
I said thank you.
Thank you, Jesus.
I said thank you.
Thank you.
Come on.
Thank you, Jesus.
Anybody here?
Thank you, Jesus.
I wanna thank the Lord.
Thank you, Jesus.
You know where He brought you.
Thank you,
You know how He carried you. You wanna get on your feet. Yeah.
Thank you, Jesus.
And live in your hands.
Thank you, Jesus.
I said you've been so
You've been
good.
so good to me.
I know you've been so
You've been
good.
so good to me.
I gotta tell you.
Right now, sit back, relax, and enjoy the word. Please help me welcome Sister Rose.
I am thankful to be here this morning and know that only God could have brought me here. So many things that's going on right now. But God has been so good to all of us. And I wouldn't trade him for nothing in the world. What a pleasure it is to be here. I am thankful that he's keeping us day by day, helping us to go through, to do the necessary things we need to do. I finally found the chapter, so it's in 27th chapter of Matthew. It says at the 15th verse, now at that feast, the governor was wont to release unto the people a prisoner whom they would. And they had been a notable prisoner called Barabbas. Therefore, when they were gathered together, Pilate said unto them, whom will ye that I release unto you, Barnabas or Jesus, which is called Christ? For he knew that for envy they had delivered him. When he was set down on the judgment seat, his wife said unto him, saying, have thou nothing to do with that just man? For I have suffered many things this day in a dream because of him. But the chief priests and elders persuaded the multitude that they should ask Barabbas and destroy Jesus. And the governor answered and said unto him, whether of the twain will ye that I release unto you? And they said, Barabbas. And Pilate said unto them, what shall I do with them? What shall I do then with Jesus, which is called Christ? They all said unto him, let him be crucified. And the governor said, why? What evil hath he done? But they cried out the more, saying, let him be crucified. When Pilate saw that he could prevail nothing, but that rather a tumult was made, he took water and washed his hands before the multitude, saying, I am innocent of the blood of this just person, see ye to it. I want to preach a little while this morning. That's a question that every person somewhere in your life is going to have to deal with the fact, what are you going to do with Jesus? Everybody's got to answer that question. That's a question you cannot escape. That's not a question that you can just push back somewhere and say, well, I'm not going to answer it. You have to answer that question. So now, he hadn't done anything. He come to die for you and for me. And now, in the midst of all this, there's a robber in the prison, and they want to know, so which one would you like us to give you? Just give us Barabbas and kill him. What is it about it today that there is so much negative stuff about God? A lot of negative stuff. You invite people to, I'm not into that God stuff. You better get into it. Because for sure you'll wish that you had. And so they say, we don't want to be bothered with him. They're saying the same thing today. We don't want to be bothered. I don't want to go to church. I'm not into that God stuff, they call it. But rest assured, this God stuff is going to determine whether you make heaven or hell. Sometimes I'm troubled by that. And what troubles me more is that it's still going on right now. You may say it a different language, but it's still going on. So, but you know what? I think we need to come to grips with the fact that we are going to die and leave this world. And if we didn't make Jesus our number one choice, you're going to regret that. There ain't but two places that we can go to. One is heaven and one is hell. And you decide where you want to go. It's about making a choice. It's about a decision. So when you look at yourself this morning, if the question was put to you one-on-one, what would you say? Well, I'm a good person. That's not going to get it. Good people go to hell. So I got to look at the fact I got to have more than just that I'm a good person. But Jesus came to die so that we wouldn't be lost. Otherwise, we end up going to hell because we didn't have no way out. So I think when you think about that, you got to decide, you know what, I got to make a choice. And every day of our lives, we are making choices. We're choosing something, whether it be good or bad. And you got to stop for a minute and say, you know what? I don't know what to do. I don't know whether I should choose him or not. He says if you choose him, then he's going to bless you. He's going to give you what you need. He's going to be your friend. You can count on him to do that. You know why so many people in the world is friendless today? It's because they won't accept a friend of friends. I mean, he is a friend. He is a friend that sticks closer than the brother. more than any family member. A friend that you can depend on. And he said, no greater love than this, than a man laid down his life for his friend. I'm glad he's my friend this morning. I'm glad I'm his friend. Yes. So when I look at this situation of the world today, I say, God, how sad that so many people in the world say, I don't have time for him. You know what? We got time for careers. We got time for all these things, not for him. And I often say to people, you got to have some God time. You got to be committed to him. Give him a chance in your life, because I'm telling you, without him, you're not totally happy. You may say you are, but you're not. The only true happiness we have is with him. And so if we don't have that, we don't have him, how can we have it? So I'm looking at the fact that, and people go on planning their lives, what they're going to do next year, and what I'm going to do back here, and from one thing to another, not thinking I may not be here next year. It's a possibility you won't be here even this time next Sunday or tomorrow, because death is sure. And people are dying everywhere. Some being murdered. Our soldiers in Afghanistan, people are dying. And somewhere you got to say, I got to make a choice. What am I going to do? Where do I want to go, to heaven or hell? I got to make that choice, because if you don't make a choice, you're going to regret it. You have to choose that. Now, the people you're with may say, I'm not into that. Leave them. Because you don't need them to support you. You need God as a friend. Now, there was a rich man. The scripture says, he spake unto them a parable unto them, saying, the ground of a certain rich man brought forth plentifully. And he thought within himself, saying, what shall I do, because I have no room where to bestow my fruits? And he said, this will I do. I will pull down my barns and build greater, and then I will bestow all my fruits and my goods. And I will say to my soul, thou hast much goods laid up for many years. Take thine ease, eat, drink, and be merry. But God said unto him, thou fool, this night thy soul shall be required of thee. Then who shall those things be which you have provided? So what's going to happen to all this stuff that you gathered in a lifetime? And you know what? It's not worth it. You can spend your whole life living your dream, doing all these things, and at the end of your life, you're out of here. And everything you ever had or made is no longer has no value. So when I look at that, I'm thinking, God, wake up the people. Wake them up. Preachers need to preach messages that cause people to wake up and realize I need to get right with God. Very important. And so I think over the lifetime, we all accumulate a bunch of stuff, but none of it's going with you when you leave. Somebody said they've never seen a hearse. Yes. Or a hearse with all your possessions behind it. No, you're going to leave that stuff. Every bit of it, no matter how much you like it. I thought about Tammy Faye Baker. Before she died, Larry King at the time said to her, so what do you hate more about dying and leaving this world? This was her saying. All my stuff. What good is it? Everything we get in this life is temporal. None of it is eternal. None of it lasts. We can have a dream to do a certain thing, and at the end of it, after we get it, we say, so what's good? What good is it? It's really not. So when I think about that, I'm thinking, God, help me. I made a choice long time ago. In fact, 54 years ago, I made a choice, and I chose Jesus. And I've never regretted it. So if you haven't met him, let me introduce you to the one who loves you the most, the one who cares about you. He wants to help you to make it. The worst thing, if you want to hurt the heart of God, is to see a person that's not saved and they die. He said, I have no pleasure in the death of the wicked. I have no pleasure. He said, and you know why? Because he's sad when somebody dies lost, because he paid the price for you not to. And he still feels that sadness and that pain. I've done everything. I sent my son to give his life for you. And you don't want him? There's not a person in this room, if you had to give your life for a certain person, and that's the only way they could live, if they didn't accept it, you would be unbelievably angry about that. If it was your child or your son, you would be angry about that. So how do you think God feels when he looks down here? His son sacrificed heaven, which was everything. He sacrificed it and came here. I often think about that. He was in a place where he was adored, where people bowed down in front of him and worship him. And there was a great, great time going on in heaven that's like you would not believe. But you know what? I look forward to that day. When I can go there and be with him. I was saying to my daughter this morning, I said, I wonder, what will your loved ones look like in heaven? Will they look like something down here? I don't know. But I know it says that we will know them. If they're in heaven and you get there, you're going to know, you're going to see these loved ones, and you're going to definitely feel like, you know what? This has been well worth it. People that you've lost, people that hurt you in your heart, you're going to go there and find them beautiful. Nobody's getting old in heaven. I don't know if you saw the documentary that was on TV sometime. Probably still can find it on Netflix. But this little boy, he was sick, and the doctor operated on him, I think it was. Well, he died. And they were trying to revive him. And after a period of time, he came back. Because his heart had stopped beating, there was no pulse. But he came back. And every once in a while, I can't remember how old he was, but he was very young. And he said, he'd tell his dad, Dad, I saw Jesus. His dad said, so his father said, what are you talking about? I saw Jesus. He said, what do you mean, son, you saw Jesus? He said, in heaven. He kept talking about heaven and what he saw there. And his father said, you don't know what you're talking about. He said, yes, I saw Jesus, Daddy. So all during the day, whether he was playing with his toys or whatever, he would come up and he'd mention something. His daddy walking by, and he says, boy, I saw Grandpa in heaven. And his dad said, you didn't see your grandpa's son. You never knew him. He died many years before. He said, I saw him in heaven. He said, well, can you describe him? Yes. So he goes in the room and get the picture of the grandfather and bring it back. And he said, this is a picture of your granddad. He said, that's not him. He said, nobody's old in heaven. Everybody is happy. Everybody is excited and young. Everybody wants youth. Nobody wants to get old. And he said he went in the room and got another picture of his grandfather when he was much younger. And he brought it back. He said, that's Granddaddy. That's him. He said, son, how do you know that? He said, I saw him. He was so excited. Well, he went to church, and he was telling everybody, I saw Jesus. My granddaddy's in heaven. I saw all of them. So people started getting eerie of him, like, something's wrong with this kid. He ain't been to heaven. He ain't seen all this stuff. Nobody wanted to believe it. Well, one day he was at home, and his mother was in the kitchen, and she was cooking, and he came up to her and he said, I saw my little sister. She said, you couldn't see your little sister? You never met her. But the mother had a miscarriage. But that baby was in heaven. And so he reached over to his mother's stomach. He said, I'm talking about the one that was right here in your stomach. How can you see that? When I saw it, I was overwhelmed with it. But I know that it's true. Because a lot of people have seen visions of heaven and gone there. But if you never saw a vision, just read it in the Word. It's in the Word. I said, God, please help me in my day to talk to people about you, that I might be able to help them find you. I don't care who dies right now. If they didn't serve God and they didn't live for God, you know what they say? They're in a better place. Not really. Not really. Because you can only go one or the other. And you live that people know that when they see you, they know they went to heaven. But they put drunks in heaven. They put anybody, whatever life they live. If you committed crime and all this stuff, they'll say, well, he's better off. No, you are not. You got to make it right with God. So that no matter what happens in this life, if my time was today, are you ready to see God? Are you ready to stand before him? It has nothing to do with age. Nothing to do with it. So children die, babies die. We tend to think, well, I'm not that old, I'm still young. It has nothing to do with your age. My sister told, I think Nisa was telling me the other day about this NBA player, I think it was. He died on the court. These people are not in bad shape. But death comes any place, anytime. You don't know when. So you got to make the decision. Every person got to make the decision. You got to do it for yourself. Your mom can't do it for you. Your dad can't do it. You got to do it. Today is the day that you need to decide, where do I want to spend eternity? With God or with the devil who hated you and drove you to do things you shouldn't do when you said no and then you continue to go down that road? So what are you going to do with it? Can I say to every person in this room, ask yourself the question, am I going to escape this? Is this going to be the message that torments you in hell for eternity? Because when people go to hell, they have their memory. In heaven, we don't have our memory. Everything is beautiful up there. We don't remember anything that happened down here. But if I go to hell, I remember the time I went to that church and heard that message, but I didn't do it. I remember that time there was a woman preacher there in that pulpit, and she told us about hell, and she said, make a decision and be sure that you know it's God. Don't make the wrong one, because in hell to regret it means nothing. You're never coming out. That's forever. So if you today got notice that tomorrow you would be gone, you wouldn't be here, can you really say, well, I'm ready to meet God? Are you really? You gotta do what you gotta do. And that means I'm going to ask him to forgive me of my sins, come into my heart, and give me the power to say no to sin. Because if you don't, oh my God, being a preacher, you run into a lot of different situations, and very sad, some things you see. When Jesus went and died for us, he fixed it so when death comes, we don't feel the sting of death. We're not afraid of it. He took the sting out. So he makes it easy for you to transfer from this life over to there. But people that don't know God, there's some horrible scenes, terrible things. People screaming and hollering and doctors holding them down to the bed and strapping them in because they kept screaming, help me somebody. That's too late. It's too late. Don't put it off. You must understand that that's why he came, to give his life. And now he's saying to you, who are you going to serve? He says, I've set before you good and evil. You choose which one you want. He says, if you choose evil, this is what's going to happen to you. There is no real happiness and joy without God. We may tell ourselves, well, I think I'm happy. You ain't had happiness till you know him. When you get him, you are really happy. When I think about how many people I have seen that didn't make it, one of them was Miss Barbara in this church. She had been here 10 years, but she never really committed. See, this is about commitment. I got to say, Lord, I want to serve you, and I'm going to serve you the way I do all these other things. I'm going to serve you. I'm not going to put you on the sideline. I'm not going to make you second. You got to have it right now. Right now. So, Miss Barbara, she was 70-something years old. I talked to her. I tried to convince her. I said, Miss Barbara, you know, you don't have much time left in this world. Have you made things right between you and God? And she said, I think I'm okay. She was not. And I told her. Because if I don't tell her, she wouldn't have a chance to change it. So I told her, I said, no, Miss Barbara, I told the things that made her not a Christian. You got to change that. She said, I know, Pastor Rose, I'm gonna do it. But she didn't do it. And some of the people have been to visit her in the hospital. I went there, and then they transferred her to a rehab center. And I went there, and I talked again. Have you made peace with God? I think so. I said, honey, don't go to hell. She said, I'm not going to hell, Sister Rose. I'm not going to hell. All of a sudden, one day, somebody went to her house to see her. There was no response. And when they checked her, she had been dead 5 days in the bathtub. The most horrific sight you've ever seen. The funeral director said, I've seen a lot of bodies in my time. He said, I never saw nothing like that. And she was in the bathtub, face down. And when I told the funeral director, I want to see her, he said, Rose, I would advise you, you don't want to see that. I said, yeah, I want to see her. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it that something like that could turn into that. It was incomprehensible. And he said, I would advise you not to look at it. No, I want to see it. It's tragic. She didn't get it right. I didn't preach her funeral because we couldn't have a funeral, so we just had some words because the body couldn't even be brought to the church. That's because it had so deteriorated. Then there was another man that was here at the same time she was, and his name was Milton. He had left the church. I said, Milton, please come back so you can get yourself right with God. He came back, and I talked to him personally. I said, Milton, you can't afford to go to hell. He wouldn't get in. See, you can go to church, but you got to get in. You got to get in with God. That's what's going to make the difference. We looked for him on a Sunday, didn't show up. All that week, so finally somebody from the church went by his apartment. I got pictures of it. It's unbelievable. And his body was getting ready to just burst open because it had stretched so, and you could see kind of inside the body where it was deteriorating. And I thought, when we went to see that, I'm trying to understand, in 5 days, you could literally not look like a human being. And if he didn't get it right, I told him, I talked to him. I tried to get him to walk with God. Milton, come on. He didn't believe he was getting ready to die. He went and bought him a new car. He's planning on riding around a while. But he wasn't here. I couldn't help but realize, what must he be thinking now? Do he hear my voice in hell? Yes. Do you hear me saying, Milton, you got to get it right? Yes. He hears that. I tell you, the Bible backs it up. When a rich man died and went to hell, he had 5 brothers here that was left. That's how you know they have memory. So the brothers who was in hell said to Abraham, could you let Lazarus come and send him back to warn my brothers not to come to this place? He said, it's a horrible place. Please warn them. They will listen if somebody comes back from the dead. And Abraham said, though one come from the dead, they won't do it. You know why? Because they're going to say he wasn't really dead. You can't believe that. He was probably hallucinating. We go through all this stuff. We don't want to believe it because we want to continue to do what we want to do. And God is saying, I'll give you a new way of living. I'll put joy in your heart. I'm going to give you peace of mind. There's a lot of people, they give anything just for peace of mind. I can lay down at night and feel good and comfortable and not fear everything that's going on in the world. When you got him, you don't have to fear because he's right there with you. He's right there with you. Think about it. Our military men and women, they can be shipped out anytime for war. Because somebody else or something's going to happen that all of a sudden we're here we're being deployed again. But a lot of them went home. Some's going to go again. Because there's going to be more wars. But you got to understand, if I go to war and I get killed, or if I'm in a situation, in an accident or whatever, and I lose my life, it's not so bad about how you died unless you didn't know God. You got to know him. I can't tell you enough. I live every day knowing that if the Lord comes back for me right now, I am truly ready to go. I've been serving him for 54 years. Yeah. And my life now consists of trying to get everybody I can to make it to the kingdom. Every time you see somebody that's having a hard time, you try to tell them how you can get out of this. You can move on. God will take care of you. He'll supply your need. He'll open doors for you. When things are bad, he still will make a way for you. God got an answer to everything. We're looking for answers. We're looking for answers how we find this and how we find that. Please hear this message. Because you may not never hear another one. So when you leave today, say, I get out that church, that woman talking about hell and stuff. I don't want to hear it. Whether you hear it or not, there's a place called hell. There is a place. So what do I do? Make a decision. Decide it's either God or the devil. I'm going to choose good, I'm going to choose evil. One or the other. And it's strange how man goes and pick the wrong thing and not take advantage of the good thing. If you have something for you, why not? If it's good, why not want that? We spend too much of our lives on junk, temporary things that last for a moment, but they don't last forever. I don't care what you crave. I don't care what your dream has been. Any of those things, at the end of the day, none of it really means a lot because you got to leave this world and you're going to leave it. You're going to leave it. Everything you can accumulate in this life has nothing to do with that. You want true happiness? I have true happiness, peace of mind. The angels of the Lord, the scripture says, encamps around about those people who love him, who serve him. You got angels that you cannot see. I was preaching one Sunday some years ago. This blind man was here, and he was sitting in this section, but not in this church, the other one, sitting in this section. And when church was out, he said, Sister Rose, could I have a minute to talk to you? I said, yeah, I'll talk to you. So I sat down with him. He said, I got to tell you something. He said, did you know there's angels standing around you in the pulpit? This is a blind man. I said, no. He said, let me explain to you. He said, I wanted to see what you looked like because you had won me to the Lord, but I was blind and I couldn't see how you looked. And I kept praying, God, let me see her before I die. That Sunday, he said the angel standing on either side of me was so bright, it was as he wanted to see my face. He said, Sister Rose, the light was so bright, and I saw you. He described my face to a letter. I said, are you kidding me? No. I said, no, I didn't know they were standing there. I said, yeah, they were. They were. He said, they're so tall. I got out of here one Sunday night going home, and this man had been in here in the service. He wasn't a part of the church, but he had visited here, and he was coming down the thing. He said, Sister Rose, do you see the angels down there? I said, where? He said, they're all up and down in front of your church. I said, no, I don't know that. I went out to look. I didn't see nobody. But sometimes God lets people see things for a reason. And sometimes to tell you, this is for real. I am here. And I'm talking to you today. I said, you got to ask yourself, who's on the Lord's side? I am. You know, nobody wants somebody who's a failure and falling down and can't do nothing. And I remember when I was in high school, I never did like to play sports. I wasn't a sports person. Everybody would pick, no, I think that was middle school. And everybody would start picking the people they want, so they get the bat, and they do this, and they do that, and do this, and do that. And when they got to me, they said, she can't even catch a ball. No, I really couldn't. Because if it started coming to me and it looks like it's going to hit me, I'm ducking. I'm gonna look somewhere else because, and so they said, we don't want Rose Liddell, don't get her. I don't want her on my team. And then when they get to the last person, you got to choose me. They said, Rose. But you know, what's that? Nobody wants to have somebody on their team that don't win. Well, if you don't get on God's side, you ain't going to win. That's true. You want to be on the winning team? Hook up with God. I mean, he's there through the thick and thin, through the dark hours. No matter what happens in your life, he's there. I wouldn't be here today to preach to you if I didn't have God with the things that has happened in my life. Terrible things. And maybe are not all terrible because my two daughters and my husband went to be with the Lord. My husband first, not sick, nothing. We just got back from vacation in Florida, laid there talking that night, sharing what we did and how we had fun and all this. The next morning, he still looked just as healthy. He said, I'm going to go wash the car, honey, and I should be back in a few minutes. I said, yeah, because you got to wash mine too. He said, yeah, I'll be back. You're going to tell somebody one day, I'll be back. I wondered, the same day O.J. Simpson was going down the highway, I never forget it. And I thought, wow. And then it hit me, where's Charles? I haven't heard from him. Because if he's going to run late, he's going to call me and say, honey, I'm running late. Did you want me to pick you up something or something? But I didn't hear anything. And the hospital called me and said, are you Miss Banks? Yes. Could you come to St. Francis right away? I said, what's wrong? Your husband is here at the hospital. We'll talk to you about it when you get here. In a moment, 54 years old, that's not old. I used to think that was old when I was 10. But 54 is not old. And I'm thinking, okay, what could have happened? He looks totally well. My grandmother used to say, on the wellest day of your life, you're sick enough to die. It's so true. That time I got to the hospital, he was brain dead. Had him hooked up to life support. And the doctor was standing in the room. I said, I'm so perplexed. So sudden. All of a sudden, it's gone. We've been married 34 years. My God. It's over? Can't even tell you what a shock. I think a prolonged death is much better than a sudden death because nobody's prepared for it. But you know what? 4 years later, my 29-year-old daughter died. Look at the age difference. 54, 29. Hers wasn't so quick, but I knew it was coming. That was the good thing about her death was that the Lord had spoken to me and said, I'm getting ready to take your daughter. And I said, what? But I'm taking her because I got to do it to save her life. So I got to take her early. And we had talked. And I told her, I said, the Lord's coming to get you, Nita. She said, Mom, when do you think he's coming? I said, I don't know the time, but I know he's coming, and it won't be very long. She said, I wish he'd hurry up so I could get to heaven. She was 29 years old. I mean, she had a lot of life to live if she stayed. But she said, I'm ready to go. That no stinging death, not afraid at all. But she made a decision early on that she was going to serve God, early on. 2.5 years ago. The daughter that we work hand in hand in ministry. I don't know, I never thought I could make it without her. She took care of so many things that I couldn't take care of. She was 54. Died suddenly. That's why you don't know what's going on in your head. You don't know what's going on inside your body. Just because you look well, you could be getting ready to die any minute. I tell my kids, the Lord comes and takes me home. Y'all know what to do. Most people say, don't talk about death because before Charles got saved, if I mentioned death, he said, Rose, don't talk about death. I said, quit acting silly. He was laying up one day on the couch like this. And I took a pillow and threw it across the room. I said, you look like you're in the casket. He took the pillow down. Don't be telling people stuff like that. We don't want to hear it. But that's a good time before he died. But I'm telling you, I cannot say hard enough to you. Please don't die lost. Make up your mind, I got to do what I got to do. And when you make up your mind, don't let nobody stop you. Nobody tell you, man, if I were you, I wouldn't be into that God stuff. They're going to wish they'd have been into that God stuff. I don't want that to happen to you. I told the Lord when I couldn't help my brother when he was gone, I knew he went to hell. I said, God, let me try to tell everybody I can so that they don't go. I can't save my brother at this point, but maybe I can preach a message that other people will hear and say, I believe that. I am grateful for what he has done. You got to appreciate God. That he was willing to give everything he had for you and for me so that we wouldn't go to hell. He made hell for the devil and his angels, not you. But you choose to serve the devil. So you got to pay the ultimate price. Don't do it. If I can help anybody else to not go there, if I could just get people to believe what I'm saying, this is real, people. This is not some fantasy. This is real. Please understand. He's waiting right now. If you come to me, he said, behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice, he said, I will come in and sup with him. I will connect with you. That's what he says. If you'll do that, I'm here. And he's been knocking on your door for years, and you continually disregard the knock. It's like sitting in your house and somebody's at the door and said, don't answer it. They keep knocking, don't answer it. When he knocks, you better answer. Because he may not come back again. So if I can somehow get you to make that decision today, and say, I think I'll try it. Don't say I can't do it. I mean, I was a hard sinner just like everybody else. I was mean. I fought everywhere I went. Wasn't nothing to find me on the ground wrestling with a man, beating the crap out of him. God reached down to me and brought me to this place. I am a happy girl that God changed my life. I said one time, I don't know what I would do if I didn't have God. I went to him myself and said to him, God, I'm tired of me. I'm tired of living my life the way I live it. I'm tired of being called gangster girl. I don't want to be a gangster girl. I want you to change my life. Help me to have a reason for living. Get away from the things that are wrong and fix my heart and help me to say yes to you and no to sin. And he helped me. He will do the same for you. Don't put it off. Please understand it might be too late. I feel for you. I may not ever see you again. But if I never see you again, you'll remember this message. And say, you know what? I think I'm going to try what that lady said. All I can do is tell you I can't make you do it. The old saying said you can lead a horse to the water, but you can't make him drink. I'm here to do everything I can and tell you enough information that you realize you can change your life and it can happen today. It can happen today. Don't let nobody tell you, well, it's going to take time. No, it doesn't. You're talking about the God of the universe that can change you in a moment. In a moment, he changed me. I never used another curse word. And Lord, did I have a nasty mouth. My friends told me, Rose, you need to do something. You got the nastiest mouth to be a woman. I said, I'm going to change. I tried, I couldn't. When I went to him, I said, God, please help me. He changed my life that moment. 54 years later, I don't have one word of profanity coming out of my mouth. Some folks have made me mad, but I didn't curse them out. It's the truth. I understand that. Please know that this church and this pastor reaches out to you saying, give God a chance. Give him a chance. So if I ask you tonight, are you on the Lord's side? What would you say? I don't even know what that means, honey. You want me to tell you you're on the Lord's side? It's the winning side. Any other side you on, it don't work. It doesn't work. But you want to give God your life when you're young, and then when you get old, you won't be sad that you did, because as you get older, for sure, people get really stiff-necked and hard and don't want to accept nobody telling them, baby, I've been in this world a long time. I don't need you to tell me, yes, you do if you're not saved. It's not difficult to make the decision if you want to make it. I found it's very easy. But a double-minded person, they don't know what they want to do. Very confused, indecisive, never making the right decision. Well, I'll do it later. Later is not promised to any of us. None of us. So by all means, I say to you this morning, take a look at your life. You know who you are. You know whether or not you like to go to church, or would you prefer to be somewhere else? But when you fall in love with Jesus, you're going to want to go to church. You're going to want to go to church. Now, before I got saved, I did not want to go to no church. You going there for? I was raised in, I don't want to go now. I finally got out of the house, and I can do some things I want to do, and I don't want to go to church. That's where you're going, to church? Yeah. But I tell you right now, you couldn't keep me away, because I choose that. You know, people come to church and they say, you know what, I just wish something would change in my life. Give Jesus a chance. It works for you. You'll be happy, excited. Saying, boy, this is great. I didn't know I could be this happy. You've never felt happiness till you accept Jesus. Everything else that you call happiness is temporary. Baby, it don't last. I was half scared all the time. I went out there trying to party. I thought I'm going to mess around here and go to hell if I don't get it together. I was in the club with my sister and some of her friends, and I was only 17 years old. I'd never been anywhere and stayed out all night. I couldn't believe it when I came out the club. I said, it's daylight. I've been in this place all night long. But you know what I thought? It was so much smoke in that club, because back then it wasn't no smoking allowed. Smoke was everywhere. When I looked around, I thought, this looks just like hell. And I'm sitting here, what if I die? Because, see, my grandmother taught me all this stuff, so you just can't get away from it. I said, I had to get out of here. So they're all partying, and my husband, he was my boyfriend at the time, and they beating on the table. They don't turn the lights down low, and they saying, let's party! Just going on. I'm thinking, I got to get out of here. I was glad to see outside. But I realized then, I don't fit. If God's made a choice of your life, you won't fit. Let him have it. That's going to be the best time of your life. So I tell you, if I can get across to you this morning, please, if you don't do nothing else, make any decision today, make one to serve God. Make one to serve God. You got to make a decision. One scripture where they came to the people of God said, why you continually be halted between two opinions? You're undecisive. I don't know. Yeah, man, one day I think I want to go to church. The next day I think, man, it ain't for me. You'll be sorry. It's for you. It's for me. It's for every person on the face of this earth. Please do something. So you know what? I got to make it right. When I see people come forward and say, this is what I need, Sister Rose, I'm so happy. Something I said somehow made you think that I need that. And until you do, you'll always be back and forth. Double-minded people, I don't know. I was thinking about it. Sister Rose said some true things. Man, I ain't ready for that. Well, when you die and go to hell, you won't be ready for that either. You won't be ready. But you're going anyway. Think about it. I'm glad for the opportunity to talk to you this morning and our members, all of you, to say, let's make it right with God. Let me change this. I got to change, man. I got to change. And the longer you put it off, the harder it is. Come close. So this is my choice. Y'all know that song about I decided to follow Jesus. Come and sing it. Yes. I decided. Nobody else can do it for you. I decided to follow Jesus. I decided. Have you decided? Make a decision. Say, this is for me. This is where I'm going. You can do it. It's the easiest thing in the world because you got a power now to help you to do it. You can't do it by yourself. Hey, I couldn't either. I tried, but I couldn't do it. I want you to listen to this song as they sing it. I decided to follow Jesus. I decided to make him my choice. You can have it. It's just, Sister Rose, I don't really feel like I'm ready. You ain't going to be ready for death either, but it's coming. It's coming. So listen to the words of this song. I decided to follow Jesus. The best thing you'll ever do.
Some folks would rather have houses and land. Some folks choose silver and gold. Oh, these things they treasure and forget about their soul. I decided to make Jesus my choice. Oh, you know the road is rough and the going is tough and the hills are hard to climb. Oh, you know I started out a long time ago, and there is no doubt in my mind. I decided to make Jesus my choice.
I'm glad that man, he didn't let teardrops fall. You know what? I know he'd find joy in every tear that I shed. Oh, see, and I'm glad that man didn't make heartaches. 'Cause I know he'd give me more. He'd give me more than I could bear. Oh, see, and I'm glad that man, he didn't create me. Oh, Lord, for one day. Man, he surely forsake me. Oh, and I'm glad. Yes, I'm glad. Oh, I'm glad. I'm glad that God, he made me. Well, see, he made us in